All right. Hello and welcome to another Sales Inside Edge series where we're exploring AI and sales. And today I'm delighted to be joined by two fantastic AI experts. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop Online Sales Magazine and Pipeliner CRM. My colleague Martha Neumeister is in the background monitoring the chat. So please make sure you enter your questions. If you have good questions, she will bring them to us. Let us know where you're joining from. It's always fun to see people from different parts of the world. And as I said, I got two great experts today. I've got Mitchell Levy, who is joining from Silicon Valley, Cupertino, up in the Bay Area, an old stomping ground of mine from back in the dot-com days. And then John Munsell, who is in Lafayette, Louisiana, the heart of Cajun country. So how you
AKA Silicon Bayou.
Silicon Bayou, exactly. I love it. So welcome both of you. Um, and we're going to get straight into it, and we're going to talk today about how to leverage AI, especially for content for sales. This is something that a lot of people have been talking about because now you've got all these tools and you could do all of these things, and people are jumping in, and salespeople are grabbing tools and they're creating content, but it's all a little wild west at the moment and a little bit unstructured. And I think it'll be great for you guys to share some insights about how maybe are the best ways to go about this and some of the better strategies to adopt. So maybe we just start off. Maybe Mitchell, if you want to start off just at a high level, what impact do you think AI is having on the ability to create good sales content and the uses for it?
The interesting part about AI is it replaces everything. It replaces the opportunity to be smart and have 1,000 marketers in your back pocket. It also replaces the opportunity for you to act more stupid. And so what's important on using AI is to be discerning, right? If we're going to actually, your question was, what's the impact? The impact is huge. And for you in particular, could be positive or could be negative.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, John? Same question. What are you seeing?
So I think it's really down to what is it that you want to simplify using AI. I think it's exceptionally powerful. Most people are using it in marketing, and I don't think they're leveraging it enough for sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a massive opportunity because I think a lot of people just see it as a way to create content or a nice, fast typewriter.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so much more than that when it comes to sales. There's so many opportunities that people aren't even recognizing when it comes to sales, and we could dive into that later. But in the short room, it's a massive opportunity for sales.
Yeah. So Mitchell, what are some of the examples of this that you have seen, good uses of AI for sales?
I think the most important thing that any company or any individual can do is create their own chatbot, right? So if you're using OpenAI's ChatGPT, you can create your own chatbot. And what you want to do is spend the time and energy up front creating your point of view, creating a chatbot that really understands. If you've written books, you load your books in there. If you've done podcasts, you load your transcripts in there. And once you have a point of view, now you've given it an access to who you are. And now you have the opportunity to ask any question you want. And so best use, given who I am, so this is being a prompt expert is important. Given who I am, how would you craft, and then you fill in the blank. How would you craft this web page? How would you craft this LinkedIn profile? How would you craft these messages? If you created a sequence of emails to attract a certain people, what would this sequence be? And what you want to have happen is you want AI to be able to give you information back in your language, in your point of view, which is in essence how your clients want to hear from you. If you could do that, that's gold. And I'm going to give you one word to think about. When anything comes back from AI, the one word starts with a D, discernment. Read whatever you see and then take it with a grain of salt and update it appropriately.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent piece of advice there, especially on the discerning piece, because I do think sometimes, and it's part of the pervasive culture we live in today. This, shortcuts, and people think it's a shortcut, always looking for the easiest way, and sometimes that's just the way it turns out. Okay, and John, from your point of view too, what kind of uses have you seen for sales?
So I can tell you how we use it. Now, I love Mitchell's idea of a chatbot. What I really like to do is use it to help me craft a perfect proposal. So let's take it from the what we typically do is most of our sales meetings are held over Zoom. If they're not, we're going to use an AI note taker like this. This is a Plaud device, Plaud. If you want to go grab one, they're cool as hell. They also have these little wearables as well, but they'll record the meeting, digitize it, give you a transcript. What we do is we take the transcript, and then we have a custom GPT that analyzes the transcript and grades our performance as salespeople. How did we do? Where do we do things right? Where could we use a little improvement? What did we possibly miss? What were some cues that the prospect gave us that we could have capitalized on? Then we take that transcript and we roll it into another custom GPT, and that GPT analyzes the entire transcript to develop a persona that is the prospect. So it's essentially creating an Enneagram or a disc profile of our prospect. Now, it doesn't, have all the right answers, but it does a pretty good job. And so now we have a persona profile. Then we have another one that creates a proposal that tries to figure out where we came up short in our sales presentation and tries to enhance it. So it creates a proposal. Then we have that persona that persona custom GPT analyze our proposal as if it were the prospect looking at the proposal. And now that prospect says, I have questions. So then we roll it back into the proposal generator to modify the proposal based on the objections or questions that our prospect persona had. We go through that loop 3 times, and then we have a proposal that theoretically matches everything that we could potentially run up against with our prospect. And then from there, we have another one that crafts an email to say, hey, when can we get together to go over our proposal? And we have, once again, our persona analyze that particular email until we get it right. So the idea, of course, is that when we're finished, our salespeople are fully informed about their prospect to an enormous degree that they wouldn't have had without AI. And they have a proposal now that is ridiculously personalized. There's no boilerplate in it whatsoever. It is radically personalized for that prospect.
And I guess, and John, as part of that, then, which is great, is that you are now, everything you're saying and producing, it's in the voice of the customer, right? Which is something that,
I wouldn't say that it's in the voice of the customer, but it is written to be heard by the customer. Right. It's in our voice, but it's very tailored to them. And for their reception, a favorable reception of that.
Right. Absolutely, excellent. And Mitchell, what other creative uses have you seen of AI for sales?
By the way, John, as soon as you said, I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, I don't use a proposal. I don't create a proposal without using the chatbot. It's what's really interesting is I document every meeting, so I'm taking notes. Now you could take notes by using, let's say, a Plaud device, or you could take notes by manual. It just depends. Different people process different ways. The way I do things is I'll end up somewhere between, 8 to 14 meetings a day. And I'm always sending reminders of action items and notes taken. Well, one of the things that for me, I don't know, some people are like to do the mundane detail of writing email responses. I don't, but my team does. So in order to make my team more effective, because I used to try to train somebody what my voice was, and now they give them access to my GPT. And
Yeah.
so they take my notes, they feed it into GPT, they do a quick update, and then they show me a series of emails based on the conversations I've had. They then take the action items and make sure, and this is where, potentially you would see a pipeliner, you put it into pipeliner as action items and follow through steps.
Yeah.
And so I think what you're hearing, and you heard it from John, you're going to hear it from me, AI is augmenting who you are. It's augmenting who you are. And absolutely, I do want to make a point. You need to speak in the language that your customer wants to hear.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to do it is feed that. And that's relatively easy, but you do need to make it happen.
Yeah, and somebody recently said to me, actually, AI, augmented intelligence, as opposed to artificial intelligence. It's just a play on words, but supporting exactly what you're saying. And we just had a question. Maybe John, this is a good one for you, because you were talking about the proposer saying, can AI help with objection handling and follow-ups?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what we use it for. I mean, so, you think about it, if we start at marketing, marketing is going to develop our theoretical persona. And so it's going to narrow the focus to a pretty, I don't know, still a broad range, but at least anything we write is going to be towards that persona. But once we have a conversation, now we really know who that prospect is, as long as we have a digital representation of that the AI can analyze for us. So, yeah, absolutely. Once you have that, you build another persona that is your prospect. You use AI to make that analysis for you. And then you could literally role play, which is another one of our custom GPTs, where we do, in fact, role play with our, we can role play in advance with who we think our person is. Because like I've got access to their LinkedIn profile, I've got access to their bio on their website. So I can create an analysis there pre-sales call, right? So I can kind of role play with that particular persona pre-sales call. Then once I have the sales call, now I have another way to get an even deeper look at who I'm working with. And I can have a different kind of role play after I've had that initial discovery call. So absolutely you can.
Yeah. And here, and maybe Mitchell, you can take this as a follow-up question. I'm actually, I'm going to throw away all of my questions because there's so many of them coming in on the chat now. Really good questions. Say, as AI generated content becomes more sophisticated, do you foresee a shift from personalization towards predictive sales conversations where AI anticipates objections and tailors responses in real time?
I was reading the chat. I was taking a different question, so I'll rearrange my thought process on this. So thank you. Okay, don't read the chat, Mitchell. Just focus on John. Okay.
I don't even have it on.
It might be smarter. The hardest part about us overall using GPT and encouraging our salespeople to use AI is the fact that once we start sounding predictive, once we start sounding like a computer, we'll turn somebody off.
Yeah.
What I want people to think about is credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked. And I'm going to take one actual value of credibility. There are 10 values of credibility. I'm going to take one value, but it's really two. It's integrity. So there's the external integrity, what you project to the world, what you say. There's your internal integrity, who you are and how you feel. And so if you're a salesperson and you're using AI and you're producing stuff and sending it and you don't feel that energy, that will be seen, heard, felt by your prospect, and you're going to scare them away. So the answer is yes, you want to use those sort of tools when possible. You want to be able to have the predictive responses, the predictive objections come, and potentially have an opportunity to share that ahead of time. On the other hand, you got to be really careful to still keep it human.
Yeah. And that's a good segue to the next question, John, is kind of following on for that. Somebody asked, with AI content becoming more common, AI generated content, how can sales professionals differentiate their outreach from competitors who are also using these tools?
Yeah, learn how to use the tool, right? So, I mean, the key is, so we have what we call unfiltered AI responses.
Mhm.
And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get those unfiltered responses, and they have words that are repetitive. You see them over and over again. Like if you're going to use it to write an email, everybody knows what it's going to start with. If it's an unfiltered AI, it's going to start with, "I hope this email finds you well." Okay, that's no longer something you want to put in an email. You
Mhm.
definitely don't, because everybody's knowing it's that. Skyrocket. There's so many words. So what you first need to do is learn how to write a prompt. We call it a style container that emulates your voice. How you would normally talk, and it takes a little while to refine that.
Mhm.
You also want to have a list of words, phrases, tropes, whatever, that you want it to avoid. And so you need to include that into your prompt as well. And then when you generate the output, you want to run it through another analysis to further refine that, because even that will have some AI isms. So that's another one of those looping things where you refine it a few times to where it actually comes out and it sounds a lot more like you. If you don't go through that labor, then yeah, you're going to have 60% rewrite if you're going to be the human in the loop. I like to have a 4% rewrite. I don't like to have a 0% rewrite, because it's always going to say something that I would go, "Ugh, I don't want that," So that's the thing. The main thing is you need to learn how to prompt the AI and how to develop a systematic approach to those kinds of responses, so they sound more like you and less like ChatGPT or Claude or
Mhm.
whatever tool you're using.
Yeah. So, Mitchell, following on from that, how do you strike the balance between the human and AI? I mean, that's one of kind of a recurring question here. What's the right balance, or how do you figure out the right balance for you?
I almost always go to AI first. I didn't before MJ. Maybe I should have. I hear all the questions. What's the one that's Don going to predict
Mhm.
next? That doesn't matter. I think it's about showing yourself as human, right? To be
Mhm.
credible, you have to show yourself as human, and to understand the balance. What you should be doing with your salespeople is you should be role playing with them, role playing in such a way where you're encourage them to use AI and see what they come back with, right? Because as John mentioned, there's some very obvious landmines that people are going to fall on. Okay, let's figure out how to avoid those. There's also things that are so much easier when you actually can ask AI a question.
Mhm.
And it is okay. By the way, if you're in a call, if you're in a sales call, and somebody says to you a question that you don't know the answer of, here's a choice. You could say, "Hey, let me get back to you,"
Yeah.
or you could say, "You know what? We have a chat bot that could answer that question. And based on this conversation, do you mind if I put a little bit of my notes in? I'm going to share it with the chat bot. And then I'm going to give you an answer, but I want to read it first. Maybe we'll read that. We'll read that together." Right. So just, like anything else in life, you're
Mhm.
talking to a human on the other side. If you just talk to them as a human saying, "Hey, I'm using this technology. Why don't we explore it together?" You're inviting them into your persona. You're inviting
Yeah.
them into your world. That's a great way to start focusing on trust and respect of the person you're talking with.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And John, I hope this question finds you well. But
Oh, well said.
yeah. metrics. People are asking, how do you measure the impact, or what metrics should you be using to make sure that you're getting a return on whatever, because there are people who are, as I said, are just using it willy-nilly and probably aren't measuring the impact.
Wow. I always I go at the bottom of the funnel. I go at the bottom of the funnel and troubleshoot my way up to the top. At the end of the day, it needs to translate into revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, where's the nearest point of failure as you work your way up that funnel? Is the point of failure because we just aren't getting enough leads, or we're having a bad sales conversation, or we've got a price differential? There's a bunch of things. And then I would move up the funnel and say, okay, are we failing at the point of the marketing interaction? And if so, where's the friction? Is the friction in the words we're using? Does it sound too much like AI? Or is the friction in the form? I could go on and on, but there's a bunch of metrics. But I don't know, man. At this juncture, the way I would kind of backtrack to almost what Mitchell was talking about. I think the value on the output side is on the AI. How do I get AI to increase my output, right? The value on the input side, if I'm the person trying to buy, is on the human side, right? There's a point where I want to consume AI stuff because it's fast and it's informed. It's a hell of a lot better than going through an IVR on a phone tree and go press 1 for this and press 2 for that, right?
Goodness.
It's a whole lot better to have that. But at some point, I want to be talking with a human, I get really frustrated at chatbots that, go in loops. I know you are, but what am I? I don't want to have that. I want to talk to a human. So that's what I mean. I think from the output side, we're going to value AI more because it makes us more productive. But on the input side, there's going to be a point where we want a human. And I think that's the only metric I want is I want to move the right needle. And I'll figure out where it breaks apart on the mechanics after that.
Yeah. Mitchell,
sense.
do you have anything to add to that on the measurement or metric side?
John absolutely had the right metric at the end. What's happening with sales? And I love using that. I try to focus on two things. I focus not just on the ultimate sale and customer. I also want to focus on the referral partner. Because something happened in 2023. If it's not clear because AI, although it's been around for 6 years, it became real in 2023. What that meant is thought leadership is now ubiquitous. Let that sink in. Anyone who wants to be your competitor can pretend to be your competitor by using AI. Doesn't mean they provide better service. So what do you need to do to stand out? Well, the best way to close business, and the younger generation uses this philosophy and approach the entire time. The younger generation will talk to their friends they already have a long-term relationship, they already trust, know, and love, and they're going to say, hey, what is the best CRM I should use for this type of service? And their friend is going to say, I'm using this and I enjoy it. You should use it. And the person's going to say yes. You are almost cut out of the sales cycle. So what's as important to focus on is not just the bottom line sales, but also who are part of your referral base. Who are people who, when they talk to you, you provide them information, you provide them tools. John, just like you offered us using your tool set, because you're building a referral partner who will recommend you to the types of clients you serve. I'm going to say those are the two metrics, and they are not necessarily as equally important, but one is for the long term, one is for the immediate term.
And then, John, one other question. I think this is a good one. I was going to ask this one anyway. Or at least I'm going to pretend I was. But no. It's about how do you train or make sure that your sales team, that you're rolling it out in a systematic fashion, or you're putting some best practices together, or something like that, because this has definitely been one of those cases where people have just I mean, I'm sure in across all these sales organizations you probably have people using 50 different tools in different ways, and the leadership is sort of trying to play catch up.
Yeah. So I'm trying to narrow down the question. I guess the question is, how do you make sure everybody's doing it a consistent way?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the way we do it is we teach our framework. So we have a framework that we call the AI strategy canvas, which then leads people to develop what we call scalable prompts or scalable prompt engineering. The key there is the canvas teaches everybody how to think the same way. It teaches everybody what needs to go into a prompt or into a custom GPT so that they can execute at a high level. But it also it really accentuates the consistency in the input and the output. And scalable prompt engineering is a methodology to where everybody could look at the prompt and understand exactly how it flows, exactly how it operates, and it eliminates a lot of the prompt conflict that can get really messy AI output. So that's what we try to do with organizations. We want to make sure that everybody understands it the same way, executes the same way. So now we have scalable, shareable knowledge. And I think Mitchell had the insight of the day for me just a moment ago, where he said knowledge is becoming ubiquitous, or thought leadership
Yeah.
is becoming ubiquitous, because that's essentially everybody can whip up an AI, and what that does is it makes knowledge essentially free. I wouldn't
Mhm.
want to be an attorney right now because I can get a whole lot of information out of AI. I'm struggling to be a coder right now because I can get code out of AI. So knowledge is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So you're going to have to find ways to differentiate yourself by injecting the human side back into it. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah.
thanks, Mitchell, for that. I love that one.
Yeah.
That's
And
my
and
cherry for the day.
yeah.
That's so cool. Right.
And there was another question, and I'll just answer this really quickly because it's a whole topic in itself. About somebody's asking, how does AI impact SEO and lead generation? Well, let me just give you this piece of advice. Whoever you're using, whether it's internal or external for your SEO, you should be asking them that question now, because there is a lot of different things you need to do to make sure that you're going to show up in AI and that your content's going to show up in AI. So I would absolutely right now ask your SEO expert if they are already getting themselves up to speed on how to do this for AI. And if not, then I would definitely go and find somebody very, very quickly, because if you're not doing it properly right now, your AI is not going, your content is not going to be showing up in AI, and you really want it to be. So it is going to have a big impact on SEO and lead generation in the future. And then Mitchell, how about this? We talked about chatbots, but intelligent AI agents is kind of the next frontier. It's one of the things we're going to be introducing into Pipeliner very shortly. We're working on our first set of intelligent AI agents. So, do you see a time when the agents are intelligent enough that, and this is what we're working on, where they can look at your correspondence, look at all the the work and the input you've done and all of that, and be able to learn and actually make positive suggestions to you in how to and ways to actually operate more efficiently, highlight the areas you should be focused on, and basically learn about your book of business?
That's already here. So yes, to be
Yeah.
clear, um, it's AI is. I like the statement augmented intelligence.
Mhm.
Right? If you can follow through with a structured approach like John has on becoming a prompt engineer, if you could follow through with a structured CRM that will prompt you and have essentially 1,000 sales coaches on your shoulder helping you figure out what's next so you could be a smarter human. That is here today. That is what firms like Pipeliner, John, that's firms like yours. It's firms like me. I do mine with LinkedIn. My goal with the clients I'm working with is to be able to use LinkedIn in such a way that you then take that person off of LinkedIn, you put them into your top of the funnel, you put them into your CRM, and then you start building that relationship longer term with them, where I think about them first as a referral partner and second as a prospect, if that makes sense, and who could they share. And so the answer, John, is absolutely, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with.
Yeah. No, we're very excited about it. Well, look, so we're actually coming up on the end of our session here. So maybe, John, a last insight from you, and then I'll come back to Mitchell for a last insight from him.
Yeah, so I would agree with everything that Mitchell and you have said. Yeah, all that stuff that you just said in that last little section is here, So I didn't really see it as much as a question as you making a statement of what's coming soon on Pipeliner. So I'm excited to see how that rolls out. But yeah, AI to me is the great accelerator and equalizer, but you need to know how to use it properly. So.
Yeah. And I mean, it's my personal opinion, and this is where we're headed, but it's my personal opinion anyway, that the time is coming that we will never learn how to use software again. We will use natural language queries and AI agents, voice text, to basically ask the product to do what we want it to do. So the days of learning clicks and drop downs and all of that, I think, will be behind us at some stage in the not too distant future. And how about you, Mitchell? Last comment from you.
I did a post. I put it in the chat. I did a post because I went to CES and had with my 26-year-old digital native, and I got to see the world differently than the way I would see it. By the way, that's the real cool part about AI is you could ask it to see the world in the perspective of the person you're with. If you read that post, 500 to 800 words, I guarantee you will change the way you think about how we need to market to the digital native, and it'll change what marketing means over time. And you put that into your chat GPT, and all of a sudden it'll give you a whole lot more information. So bottom line, learn how to be a prompt engineer, learn how to be discerning, learn how the fact that this tool is something you put on your shoulder and it's augmenting who you are as a human. And let's make sure your credible humanity comes out.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I have to say, this session has been phenomenal. We have been, I haven't even gotten to all of the questions because it's definitely percolated up so many insights and thoughts.
There's an AI for that, John.
There's an AI, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I am AI, I have to say, John. John's on the beach.
We've been talking with Hey Jen this whole time, right?
Exactly. And just quickly before we go here, John, just tell people a little bit about yourself, and then Mitchell, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I've had a software company for the last 25 years, and we gradually became a digital marketing agency, which I sold off 3 years ago to help people learn how to use AI. And I just released a pre-release copy of the book I wrote. It's called Ingrain AI. If you want to get a free digital copy of that book before it goes on sale at Amazon, you can go to bizzuka.com/ingrain, or you can go to ingrain.ai, and I'll give your listeners a free copy of that book. And it explains everything that I just talked about.
Fantastic. And Mitchell?
So the best way to reach out to me is mitchelllevy.com. I actually interviewed between 2019 and 2020, 500 thought leaders on credibility. One of the things that I do extremely well is help people with their clarity. If you could take your clarity and add it to GPT, it changes everything. So we have a clarity session coming up this week, and I do that once a month in case you're interested. We actually, John, if you remember, we did one together for you.
Yeah.
And your clarity statement. This is so cool. Think about pipeliner guys, sales leaders dealing with ineffective CRMs. That presents a framework, a place you play. So anyhow, if you want to learn your clarity, please do. If you want to book time on my calendar, I put that in chat, or just go to mitchelllevy.com.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can honestly say, and this is not just because they've both been fantastic guests today, but I would recommend you check both Mitchell and John out. They're both fantastic in what they do. John's offering you the book. Mitchell's that clarity framework, excellent stuff. So I would encourage you to go check them both out. Listen, thanks again, gentlemen. This has been fantastic. Thank you, Martha, in Vienna, lovely Vienna, Austria, for that chat was just out of control. It's fantastic. I love it. And so we will see you all again very soon for another of our Sales Edge series. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.